Hello and welcome to On Purpose Astrology. I'm Mandy Lockley, and today I'm going to be talking about life purpose for the Sun in Libra and the Sun in Scorpio. Before I get into the specifics of Libra and Scorpio, let's discuss the general themes of the Sun in the birth chart. Now, the Sun in our birth chart has a lot to say about our identity, our essence, the essence of who we are. And it makes up part of our individual uniqueness, our individuality. The sun by sign, and we're looking at the sun signs today, but also by the house that it falls in. The houses are, of course, the areas of life and the relationships, the aspects it makes with other planets in our chart. All of these things make up our unique individuality, and the sun is a big part of that. The sun in our birth chart is what's known as the big three, because that's how important it is. The big three is the sun, the moon, and the rising sign, otherwise known as the ascendant. Now, we're probably most familiar with our sun sign or star sign, as you might call it, through the horoscope columns, in which we're led to believe that astrology simply divides everyone into 12 categories depending on the sign that the sun was in at your birth. When you think about the big three, moon, sun, and ascendant, there are no less than 1,728 combinations. So you can see how complex astrology gets just when you apply three factors. And you can say a lot about a person by just looking at the big three. You could do a whole sort of session just on that in a private session. And then it gets even more complex when we factor in all the other planets. Then you've got millions of combinations and what signs those other planets are in, what aspects they make, what houses they're in. So it becomes really infinite. The combinations, the uniqueness of us is reflected in our birth chart. Now, what does this have to do with the sun and life purpose? As I said, the sun is really important in our birth chart. It does talk very importantly about our life purpose, which is why I am going through the signs, talking about general themes of life purpose for each of the birth signs. The sun represents our journey through life. We're led to believe, I think, when we first come across astrology, and this is the same for me as well, we're led to believe that the sun sign is characteristics and a character and personality traits that we are born with, and that's that. That's who we are. Well, there is something in that, but that is not really the whole story. Really, as I've said, it's about your journey through life. And it's about through your journey how you develop and grow into your sun. The sun is something to aspire to. The characteristics of your sun sign are things that, if you can embody them and really just draw yourself into those characteristics and the best characteristics, the best of your sun, then you really are more than halfway there to living an on purpose, purposeful life, or otherwise we could say living your life purpose. So the journey, what's the journey of the sun? Well, you can liken it to the hero's journey. Joseph Campbell, the well-known mythologist, talked about the hero's journey. The hero leaves his or her home place and goes on a journey where meets helpers, meets people that get in the way, goes through challenges and obstacles and overcomes them, and then comes back home to a hero's welcome. Now, when we talk about coming home, here we're really talking metaphorically. It's about coming home to yourself, about really growing within your sun sign. And as I already said, sort of connecting and expressing the highest path of your sun sign, the highest qualities of your sun sign, because all the signs have negatives and they have positives. But if we focus on the positives, work through the negatives, not just ignoring the negatives, working through them to focus on the negatives. There's a phrase often in astrology when you're looking at someone's chart, and you can't really say exactly how the chart will manifest until you actually speak to someone personally. So we might say, well, at best, this person is XYZ. This person is this has this character trait which they put out into the world at best. And that's what we really aim for with our sun, to be the best that we can. So it's how we express ourselves in positive ways, how we find a purposeful path on that journey. Now, we're all going to go off track sometimes or in the wrong direction, and that's fine. That is also part of the hero's journey, part of the path. When we are following our sun to the best that we can, we are following our heart. Joseph Campbell called that following your bliss. But I say heart because the sun rules the heart. All of the signs, they rule particularly, or all of the planets, I mean, and the sun is called a planet in astrology, and we know it's not really a planet, it's a star. But all of the planets rule a part of the body, and it's the heart for the sun. So we're in our heart and following our heart when we follow our sun. Remember, the actual sun is at the center of our solar system. So our heart is at the center of us, which puts our sun sign at the center of us, and everything else revolves around that. So that's why it's very important. It's about the direction that you follow in life. I've talked about the hero's journey and getting on the right path in the right direction. So it's about the direction we take in life. The sun is also our vitality, which brings us back to the literal sun and also to the heart, the warmth, the life, the vitality, the energy. So when you're thinking about your sun sign and thinking about what your sun sign can say about your life purpose, perhaps you can think about what lights you up, what gives you energy and vitality when you're in your heart. Then you're on track. Then you have some clues as to what your sun sign is all about. Conversely, you can think about what drains you, what puts your lights out. We've all had that feeling, haven't we? Oh, I've had my lights put out. You're drained, maybe even, really kind of exhausted and fatigued. And you're not really in your sun. Or you need to think more about how can you best express the best qualities of your sun. When you're not in your sun, maybe you're trying to be something or someone else. Because the sun also represents authority figures in our lives. Traditionally in astrology, that's the father, but of course now it can be father or mother or a male or female energy, or even a non-binary energy. So gender really is dissolving in astrology, as in life, more and more. So when we talk about authority figures, it can be any authority figure. More we talk about those authority figures that affect our sun as people from childhood or from the early life, of course, because they help us to develop, they help us to get on our path in life. So another question we can ask ourselves, are we following our own path? Are we being unique to ourselves, the uniqueness of our sun? Or are we following a path that is set out for us? Or are we following a path that is too small or too narrow for us because we've been led to believe that we must stay in our lane, but maybe that's not the right lane for us? So when you start asking questions like this with regards to the themes of your sun sign, then you are already starting to commit to a more purposeful life. So, as I said, what brings you fulfillment and vitality? What lights you up? So, as I've already said, and it's worth reiterating, We look to our sun to help us to develop the highest qualities that we have actually incarnated into this lifetime to develop the qualities of our sun. It's what we're aspiring to. It's in us innately, but it needs to be brought out, and it's brought out through that journey. And it's brought out even through the hero's journey I've talked about, with the obstacles, the challenges, the failures, how we come back and get back on track. And when we have transits, i.e., when other planets go around in the sky and they make contact with the planets, i.e., we're talking about the sun here, for example, in our birth chart, those are the times when we can get back on track, or we can find the track if we haven't got on the track. These are messages from the universe to get us back on track, to get us on our path whenever we have the a significant transit to our sun in our birth chart. It's get on track. It brings challenges very often. Sometimes it brings great things, opportunities, of course, but it often brings challenges. And it's through those challenges, again, that we find our direction, we can refine or find our vitality, and ultimately find our purpose. The other thing that's important about the sun in our birth chart is that it is about the goals that we set. So if we want to live a purposeful life, if we want to live our life purpose, we have to have a vision. And again, the sun sign, along with all the other chart, all the talents and all the opportunities that are inherent in our birth chart, are there for us to use, are there for us to utilize. Our vision is what we want to achieve, and it's linked to our purpose. Our sun, because the sun is about a journey rather than this is who we are and this is how we're always going to be. It's about the journey of how we develop. And we do that not just from having the vision. It's great to have a vision. We need a vision, but we need to have goals to help us to fulfill our vision for where we want to be, what we want to do, who we want to be. So the goals are really good to think about in terms of your sun sign. So what are the qualities and the talents and the skills inherent in your sun sign? Set goals around those, and that will help you to accomplish a lot more. So with that in mind, let's start looking at the actual sun signs that we're dealing with today. The sun in Libra is the first one I want to talk about. Libra is an air sign. Therefore, it's sociable, civilized. Libra is ruled by the planet Venus. So it's often graceful, charming, attractive. So with those qualities of being civilized, sociable, graceful, charming, and attractive, it's easy to see that Libra has a knack for persuasion, negotiation, and diplomacy. And these are important qualities for any Libran to embrace. And Libra's life purpose, really, at its core, is to balance the scales, to use these beautiful skills and qualities to balance the scales. Remember, the the visual symbol for Sun in Libra is the Lady Justice with the scales. The scales need to be balanced. So there's something about justice, but balancing the scales brings harmony and equality. Harmony and peace and equality are concerns for Libra when Libra is expressing the best qualities of itself. Now, because it's ruled by Venus, Libra is most associated with relationship. And our mind usually automatically goes to romantic relationship. And of course, that is part of it. But it's about all kinds of relationships, all kinds of partnership. Partnership is a key word for Libra. Libra needs partnership. To develop partnership is to start to develop yourself onto the right path, onto the right purpose in partnership. So that can be romantic, it can be friendly, it can be business, it can even be between countries, teams, or any other entities where there are kind of two sides. The sun is always about the I, but the sun in Libra also has to be equally about the we. We are, I am, and we are. And that balance between I am and we are is one of the other keys to the purpose of the sign of Libra. When Libra is on purpose, it finds a common ground between whatever the two parties are, the I and the other, and the I and the we. The we suggests we're coming together. The I and the you suggests separation. So it's about getting to that we are. What are we? Whatever that means is a question for Librans to ask. At its very best and highest purpose, one of its higher purposes is really it shows us where, as humanity, we all need to compromise. We all need to build bridges, even with our so-called enemies. Whenever there is a dispute that needs mediation, diplomacy, negotiation, an evolved on purpose Libra is the person to call. However, such is the need to be seen and appreciated. Like all air signs, Libra likes to be appreciated. And such is the need to be appreciated for resolving conflict. Maybe a less evolved Libra, or a Libra who's getting slightly off track, or who is still learning, and there's no judgment here, might perhaps unconsciously or even consciously create conflict so that they can be seen to be the one who jumps in to restore peace. Another thing with Libra that we might like to think about is that sometimes the persuasion, remember, good at negotiation and persuasion, that can sometimes be used by Libra, not for the highest good, but for the satisfaction and advancement of the self, that I am, the Libra I am. And Libra is not unknown to use manipulation to get what they want. So that's something to think about. And when you add to that Libra's innate skill, or the ability of Libra to really develop the skill of strategizing, again, it's an air sign, strategy. And you can see that sometimes Libra can forget the we and can focus on the I and use those talents, those skills that they've developed to go for what they want. And this can be fun for Libra often. It can be a game, the enjoyment of the game. They might enjoy that so much that perhaps sometimes they forget the needs and feelings of others. Libra is sociable, loves relationship, loves being with other people usually. But it's not a particularly, compared to perhaps some of the water signs, well, all of the water signs, it's not a particularly emotional, not always empathetic. So Libra can strategize and go for what it wants and, you know, win the battle and that kind of thing, and forget that feelings can get hurt along the way. But an evolved Libra understands that. Evolved Libra has tolerance and understanding. Even if they don't have the lived experience, they can understand other people's experiences. Libras ultimately want to be liked. So that goes a long way. We need to make sure with Libra that there's not people pleasing. We've talked about Libras being manipulative to get what they want, you know, the darker side of Libra, and all signs, again, no judgment, all signs have darker sides, and it's about how we evolve from there into the brighter side and the highest expression of our sun sign. But the other side of, you know, really going for what you want and, you know, being a little bit ruthless about that and enjoying that as a kind of strategic game, the other side is people pleasing, because ruled by Venus, as Libra is, Venus is yielding and compromising. When you compromise too far to be liked, to people please because you can't say no, or you find it hard to set boundaries because you want to be liked, you want to be popular, you want to be loved, then that doesn't always help. Of course, Libra has to go with the balance. We've already said a lot about Libra and balance, that balance between I am and the other I am and we are. But an awakened Libra will help others to resolve conflict. as I've said. And they will do it with a genuine and heartfelt, remember the sun is the heart, heartfelt concern for balance and for fairness for all involved. Another skill of Libra is that they can get on with pretty much everyone and anyone and can thrive in virtually any social situation. There's a grace and a beauty, an inner beauty and often even an outer beauty with Libra. When Libra holds itself in a healthy balance of thought and feeling, equanimity, that's the higher expression of that sort of balance, equanimity, beautiful calm. Overall, Libra can make a great friend, a great ally, a great partner in life, where all parties are appreciated. This can happen naturally when Libra finds its life purpose and follows that life purpose by setting those goals, setting goals that utilize those gifts that I've talked about that Libra naturally possesses. Now we move to Scorpio. Scorpio is a water sign. It's a highly emotional sign. Deep emotions. When there is a crisis, any kind of crisis, who do you want? Who do you call? Well, you want an on purpose, a purposeful Scorpio there. While Libra often doesn't like to get its hands dirty, doesn't like to muck into the dirt, wants to take the step back and kind of oversee the compromise, oversee the mediation, have talks and negotiations. Scorpio is more likely to get really mucked in. And we're talking here about emotionally as well as physically, mostly emotionally, actually. There's self-control, a lot of self-control in Scorpio. It's a fixed water sign. And often Scorpio finds this self-control, like I was saying in the introduction, you find the highest and best and most useful qualities of your sun through experience. So it's often through experience in crisis that Scorpio finds not only this self-control that it possesses, but also realizes and understands how much stamina and courage Scorpio possesses. Scorpio can develop when they follow their sun, they follow their heart and their bliss and their life purpose with the sun. Sun in Scorpio is traditionally ruled by Mars, of course, which is where that courage comes from. It's also strategic. We talked about Libra being strategic. Scorpio is also strategic. And while Libra might share the strategy and say, like, this is what we're going to do, Sun in Scorpio, Scorpio generally, they will strategize privately and they will then act out that strategy. And it will be for the best and the highest good when Libra is living their life purpose, serving the world with their life purpose and with the highest qualities of Scorpio. It can be secretive, when it's too secretive, when it's a Scorpio that's kind of in pain. And again, no judgment here if it's in pain or it's not living its high purpose or it's off track. That strategy that's kept private might not be as kind as it could be. So that's another kind of learning thing for Scorpio. But certainly stamina and courage and self-control. Almost enviable, really, when you look at it. As I said, Scorpio almost always will be tested. Such is the life purpose of Scorpio, to be tested. Another sign of an awakened and on-purpose Scorpio is that being around a Scorpio that's really enlightened and really following their path is that they can have a real healing presence that they might not even be aware of. Because there's a great depth of empathy and feeling there. They really do feel and understand other people's pain because possibly they've been through it as well and come out the other side. Now, unlike Libra, don't expect Scorpio to be a people pleaser, unless there's other things in the chart, of course, that kind of point towards that. For example, like strong Venus or strong Libra, etc. Instead of the easy charm of Libra, there's something magnetic about Scorpio that kind of draws you in. If you ever looked at Scorpio in the eyes, wow. But don't forget, magnetism can repel as well as attract, of course. Perhaps the intensity. There's a deep passion that's kind of hinted at. It's kind of there. It's kind of a fizz. If you're good at reading people's energy, Scorpio might have so much self-control, might not even say anything, but you can kind of feel and sense the energy of that deep intensity and that passion and the deep emotions at the depths of Scorpio, which can be really, as I said, magnetic, or it can be a little bit scary, make you feel uncomfortable. If you're not used to that, you don't want to go down that deep emotional route. But often Scorpio doesn't have the choice. They have to go down that route. They have to experience these deep emotions. There's no getting over it. There's only getting through it. As I said, Scorpio doesn't tend to be the people pleaser. It's not Scorpio's life path. The sun is Scorpio's life path to yield and compromise for the sake of a smooth ride through life. There are challenges in everyone's life, of course. Now, it's a sensitive water sign, and you might not realize how sensitive Scorpio is until you upset them. Scorpio can be very secretive and find it harder to trust others. And on purpose, Scorpio will learn to trust, will have to learn to trust, and will often experience betrayal of that trust. And again, that's part of the path of Scorpio, to learn to trust and to learn that trust has to be earned both ways. That to really feel and understand its own deep emotions, the path of Scorpio needs to let others in. And when a Scorpio is off track, again, no judgment, there can be difficulty letting other people in. And yet, it is through exploring the real depths of passion and feelings that Scorpio truly has that it comes into its own, some expression. So there's some expression to be found, these passions and feelings need to be expressed in some way, whether that's through the work or through a relationship or through creativity. We'll have our own ways of expressing ourselves, and Scorpio really needs to express itself. When the Scorpio sun, Scorpio in generally, other personal planets in Scorpio, when they do let down their shields and let other people in, they can become possessive. Such is the cost of getting close. It can be hard to let go. So again, that is another thing for Scorpio to learn. The fixed signs can all be possessive in different ways. Attachment, they all become whatever they have in their lives, whether it's an emotional connection or physical possessions, for example, they can find it hard to let go. So that might be another path that some Scorpios will need to go through to understand loss. And through that, again, Scorpio finds that resilience, that stamina, that courage. And going through these things themselves, that's when they become that person that is just like can really cope when things get tough for others and can really heal just by their presence. As I said, Scorpio may need to learn about emotional pain and betrayal in order to get onto that healing path. Because as they heal themselves, so they heal others. Scorpio doesn't necessarily have to consciously work in healing or set the intention to heal others, but by working on healing themselves, they will be putting others on the healing path with them. Self-mastery. We talked about self-control for Sun in Scorpio. It's really about self-mastery, understanding those deep feelings and those deep passions and finding, as I've already alluded to, a way to express them in the world. Healing, I've talked about already. Whatever life throws at them, wow, Scorpio can take it. There's such strength in Scorpio. Scorpio's path also involves learning to accept and tolerate that not everyone possesses those deep emotions. Not everyone has that willpower, that strength, that stamina. And not everyone feels as deeply as they do. I think if you just watch the section on Libra, you'll see that obvious difference there between Sun Scorpio and Sun in Libra. Libra and Scorpio are next to each other in the zodiac. Not often the sign next to your sign is a sign you can't quite see, you can't quite get them. They're kind of different to you. And it's the lesson of Scorpio to understand that not everyone is like them, that not everyone has these deep feelings. They might be, perhaps this is one of the reasons why Scorpio can be suspicious sometimes. Suspicious because they feel so deeply, so it's hard to understand that other people don't. So something must be going on. Something must be going on under the surface, and maybe there isn't, or not to the depth, or not in the sense of the way things are going on for Scorpio. Scorpio is very insightful. It sees things, it understands things very deeply. Great for research, for investigation. Because it really, as I said, wants to roll its sleeves up and just get everything, get all the details, however mucky the details are, and however beautiful they are. And that's where at heart the beauty of Scorpio is, that following the path that Scorpio asks you to follow, invites you to follow if you're a Sun in Scorpio. Following that path really awakens such deep, deep, deep compassion at the heart of every Scorpio walking the earth. So I hope that's helpful. I hope that's interesting. Lots of love out there to all Librans and Scorpio. And thank you for watching. If you like this video, please subscribe so that you get notifications and don't miss further videos. And if you want to see my website, onpurposeastrology.com, where I have details of private consultations, if that's something you're interested in as well as details of my Reiki work too. Thanks so much. Lots of love, as always. Bye-bye.